get paid, manage risk, scale up. We do not just fly, we on the sky, sky commander, die, see, above, go, we on, get ahead.
Okay, let's get started.
You know, there is this really persistent myth in the tech world.
Oh, yeah.
It's what I call the flying robot myth.
Right.
People see a drone and their brain just immediately goes to one of two places.
It's either a toy or a sci-fi movie.
Exactly. It's either this cool little gadget for taking sunset photos at the beach, or it's this futuristic delivery bot that's going to drop burritos on your porch.
Which is fun.
But it feels entirely recreational or just purely speculative.
Yeah, it's the novelty factor. It's like, look up in the sky, a flying camera.
A gadget. But when we actually dug into the stack of research for today's deep dive,
And we are talking about some heavy hitters here.
we really are. We've got the Fly Guys, GIS webinars. We've got the business playbooks from Drone Launch Academy, the professional aerial cinematography guys.
A lot of material.
A massive stack. And when you read through all of it, that whole toy image completely disintegrates.
It vanishes.
The reality of the drone industry right now, like today in the real world, it isn't about flying at all.
No, it's about data.
It's entirely about data.
That is the massive pivot point. If you take literally one thing away from our deep dive today, it's this. The drone is just a sensor.
Just a sensor.
That's it. It's
Yeah.
a tool to gather intelligence. The product that you're selling isn't the flight itself.
Right.
The product is trust. It's decision support for someone who is spending a massive amount of money.
Decision support.
Yeah.
I really love that framing. And that is exactly our mission for this deep dive.
To map that out.
Exactly. We're going to completely dissect this transition. How do you go from being just a hobbyist with a drone to becoming what the industry sources call a value-add operator?
Which is a huge leap.
It is. So we're going to look at the technical side first, specifically GIS and this major difference between photogrammetry and LiDAR.
Essential stuff.
And then we're going to pivot hard into the actual business architecture,
the money side.
right? The pricing psychology.
Right.
Why doing custom quotes is basically killing your business.
Oh, it's a death spiral.
And how to structure partnerships so you aren't just treating yourself like a, what do they call it, a scraps subcontractor.
Yeah, the scraps subcontractor. We are basically handing you the blueprint today to stop competing on price and start competing on process.
Because that's how you win.
Exactly. We're covering everything from the literal physics of laser returns to the very specific clauses you need in a retainer agreement.
And I definitely want to make sure we talk about that smartwatch analogy for GIS.
Oh, the smartwatch analogy is brilliant.
Because honestly, when I read that in the source notes, it kind of blew my mind. It makes so much sense of a very complex topic.
It perfectly frames the entire data conversation.
But before we get there, we need to set the stage a bit. We're moving from I fly drones to I solve expensive problems.
Which requires a complete and total shift in your mindset.
Right.
You have to stop thinking about the flight mechanics, the wind speed, the propellers, and start thinking about business architecture.
Risk management.
Yes. Risk management, defensibility, and how your specific data integrates into someone else's daily workflow.
So let's jump right into the heavy stuff. Section 1 of our deep dive, the data foundation.
Let's do it.
We're talking about GIS. Now, for the uninitiated out there, GIS stands for Geographic Information Systems.
Which sounds incredibly dry.
It sounds so dry. It sounds like an academic textbook from the late 90s.
Totally.
But according to the folks at Fly Guys, specifically Matthew and Darian from their webinar on this is the absolute backbone of the entire industry.
It is the foundation. And the definition they use is so crucial because it shifts your focus entirely.
How so?
Well, they don't just say GIS is making maps.
Right.
They define GIS as a system that relies entirely on data quality. They have this one great line in the transcript that say, data quality defines GIS intelligence.
Data quality defines GIS intelligence. Let's unpack that, because I think this is where that smartwatch analogy comes in, right?
Yes.
I found this incredibly helpful for just visualizing what this workflow actually looks like in practice.
It is the perfect comparison. So think about a modern smartwatch.
Like an Apple Watch or a Garmin.
Exactly. You wear it on your wrist, you walk around, you go to work, you sleep. You don't really change your behavior for the watch.
You just live your life.
Right. But the watch is constantly passively collecting this massive amount of data points.
Heart rate variability, step cadence.
Sleep cycles, blood oxygen levels, millions of data points.
So it's essentially just a passive vacuum for data.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But here's the kicker. The value of the watch isn't the collection itself, it's the synthesis.
The processing.
Right. The watch software takes all that raw, messy data, organizes it, and surfaces one specific actionable insight.
Like, hey, your recovery is really low today.
Or you're unusually stressed. It catches a negative trend before it becomes an actual health problem.
So it's passive collection that leads directly to active insight.
And the Fly Guy's argument is that modern smart GIS does the exact same thing for the physical world.
Okay, map that out for us.
The drone is the watch. It flies over a construction site or a forest or a city block, and it is just sucking up millions of data points.
Point clouds, high-res imagery.
Survey points.
Right.
Just massive data sets. And the GIS software is the brain that looks at all of that and says, hey, this stockpile of gravel over here is 20% smaller than the contractor ordered.
Wow.
Or this vegetation is getting way too close to that high voltage power line.
So it's a real-world diagnostic tool.
Exactly. It uses automation to catch bad data or classify objects so that the human operator can just look at the final insight. It catches the error before it becomes a multi-million-dollar disaster.
That is such a cool way to look at it. It's not just a flat map you look at. It's a health check for the real world.
Precisely.
And the Fly Guys team traced this evolution of aerial data, which I found totally fascinating. I mean, they went all the way back to the 1850s.
The hot air balloon era.
Yeah, Nadar in Paris.
Exactly.
People going up in these giant balloons with the early cameras, which was revolutionary visually, Rob.
It completely changed how we see the world.
But it had zero location intelligence.
None at all.
You could see a building in the photo, but you couldn't point to it and tell a general that building is at exactly these latitude and longitude coordinates.
It was just a pretty picture. It lacked context.
So then you jump forward.
Right, you jump to the 1980s and 90s, and you get the GPS revolution.
Satellites.
Well, GPS first, giving us location specificity. You know exactly where a town or a vehicle is. And then imaging satellites come into play.
Which are great for location.
Incredible for location. But the sources highlight two massive flaws with satellites: resolution and timing.
Right. The cloud problem.
The cloud problem is huge. If it's cloudy on the day the satellite passes over, the satellite sees absolutely nothing.
Just a big white blur.
Exactly. And even if it happens to be perfectly clear, the satellite might only pass over that specific job site once a week or once a month.
So the data is stale.
Very stale. If you are managing a construction site and you need to know what the earth movers did this morning, a satellite image from 3 weeks ago is useless. It's old news.
And that leads us directly to the drone, the culmination of this whole evolution.
It really is the ultimate synthesis. It combines everything. You get the incredible high resolution of a low-altitude flight.
We're talking centimeters per pixel, right?
Sub-centimeter sometimes. You get the specific GPS location accuracy. And most importantly, you get on-demand timing.
You don't have to wait for an orbit.
You don't wait for a satellite. You don't wait for a plane to be chartered. You just fly when you need the data.
But, and this is a big but, in the sources, with great power comes great confusion about the actual sensors you put on the drone.
Oh, the sensor debate is endless.
One of the biggest debates we saw in the material constantly is photogrammetry versus LiDAR.
The two heavyweights.
Right. And to the average person, or honestly even the average client buying the service, the output looks kind of similar.
It does. It looks like a 3D model of the world on a computer screen.
But the underlying way they build that 3D model is fundamentally mechanically different, right?
Night and day. Completely different physics. And mixing them up is an extremely expensive mistake.
Okay, let's break it down for everyone. Let's start with photogrammetry.
Okay, photogrammetry is a passive technology. It is essentially just stitching regular photos together.
Taking a bunch of pictures.
Right. You fly the drone in a grid, and you take hundreds, sometimes thousands of overlapping images. Usually you want like 70 to 80% overlap between each photo.
Okay, why so much overlap?
Because a computer algorithm is going to look through all those photos and search for common pixels.
So it's looking for the exact same rock in 10 different photos.
Exactly that. If the software sees the same distinct rock from 10 slightly different angles, it can use basic statistical triangulation to calculate exactly where that rock sits in 3D space.
It builds the geometry out of flat photos.
It does. It is fantastic for visual mapping, for 2D orthomosaics, for seeing what a site looks like today.
Okay, so what's the catch?
It has a fatal flaw. It cannot see through things. In the industry, we call this the vegetation barrier.
Because it's literally just relying on a photograph. It can't magically see through a solid leaf.
Correct. So imagine you fly a photogrammetry mission over a very dense forest,
Okay.
and your client is an engineer who needs to know the exact elevation of the berth under those trees. Maybe they are planning a new logging road or a drainage ditch.
Photogrammetry is going to fail there.
Spectacularly, it will just map the tops of the leaves. It creates what we call a canopy model, not a bare earth terrain model.
Enter LIDAR.
Enter LIDAR, light detection and ranging.
This is the heavy hitter.
This is completely different technology. It is an active sensor. It is physically shooting laser pulses, hundreds of thousands of pulses every single second down at the earth.
So it's not just passively looking at light, it's actively poking the world with its own light.
That is a great way to put it. And because it's shooting so many discrete pulses, and because the laser beam itself actually has a certain width to it as it travels.
Some of it hits the leaves.
Right. A portion of that light beam hits the top of the leaf and bounces back to the sensor.
But the rest keeps going.
Exactly. Some of that light finds the tiny microscopic gaps between the leaves, the pores of the forest canopy, and it travels all the way down, hits the actual ground, and then bounces back up.
So one single pulse of light can record multiple returns.
Yes, that is the magic of LiDAR. Return number 1 is the top of the tree canopy. Return number 2 hits a lower branch. Return number 3 hits a bush. And return number 4 hits the solid dirt.
Wow.
Because you have that final ground return, the software can digitally strip away all the vegetation returns.
So you can basically digitally mow the lawn.
You can completely delete the forest on your screen.
Yeah.
And you are left with a perfect bare earth model.
So if you are that same engineer planning that logging road,
You absolutely need LiDAR. If you try to sell that engineer a photogrammetry map, they will laugh you right out of the room because your data is completely useless for their earthwork calculations.
that distinction is just huge. It's the difference between delivering a pretty picture and delivering actual actionable engineering data.
It's the difference between a hobbyist and a professional.
But speaking of data, there is a phrase that kept coming up over and over in that Fly Guys transcript. Garbage in, garbage out.
Oh, yeah, the golden rule of GIS.
And they specifically mentioned something called the missing data crisis,
Yes.
which, I mean, it sounds a little dramatic. But for a surveyor out in the field, this is a literal nightmare. Walk us through the economics of this kind of error.
It is the absolute worst case scenario for an operator. So imagine this. You drive 4 hours out to a very remote job site.
Okay, remote area, lots of driving.
Right. You get there, you fly the drone for a few hours, you pack up your gear, you think you nailed it. You drive 4 hours all the way back to your office.
A full day of work.
A very long day. You upload all that data to the cloud processing engine. You go to sleep. And then the next morning, the software spits out a big red error message.
Oh, no.
Insufficient overlap, or data gap. You missed a 50-foot corner of the property boundary.
And you can't just fix that in post-production, right? Like, Photoshop can't invent topographic data that isn't actually there.
No, AI can't fake surveyed grade elevation. You have to go back.
You have to drive another 4 hours.
Another 4 hours there, another flight, another 4 hours back, more gas, more time. Your profit margin for that entire job just went to zero.
It's totally wiped out.
Actually, it's worse than zero. You are effectively paying your own money to work at that point.
So what is the fix? How does someone operating at that value-add level prevent this from happening?
Real-time quality control, TRNCL, QC. You simply do not leave the physical site until you have verified the data.
On a laptop in your truck.
Exactly. You check the KML boundary file. Did the drone actually fly the entire box that the client requested?
Check the edges.
Right. And you check your RTK status logs.
Let's do a really quick definition for the listeners on RTK, just to be thorough.
Sure. RTK stands for real-time kinematic. It is a highly advanced way of correcting standard GPS drift by using a stationary base station on the ground communicating with the drone.
Because regular GPS is kind of sloppy, right?
Regular GPS is accurate to maybe 3 meters on a good day. RTK is accurate to 3 centimeters.
Huge difference.
Massive. So the professional operator sits in their truck and checks the logs. Did I maintain a fixed RTK solution for the entire flight?
Meaning, did it stay super accurate the whole time?
Right. If the answer is no, because maybe you flew behind a building and lost signal,
You don't leave the site.
do not leave. You swap the drone battery, you walk to a better launch point, and you fly that section again.
I really love that methodology. Don't hope, verify.
Verify everything.
And it seems like that attitude transitions us perfectly into section 2 of our deep dive, the operator mindset.
This is where the rubber meets the road.
Because we have these two completely different identities clashing in the source material. You have the scrap subcontractor, and you have the value-add operator.
And this is, frankly, a very painful distinction for a lot of pilots to hear, but it is entirely necessary if you want to survive in this business.
So define the scrap subcontractor for us.
The scrap subcontractor is the person who treats their safety protocols as flexible depending on how much of a hurry they are in.
Ouch.
Their scope of work is always vague. They price themselves like a pure commodity. They say things like, oh, I charge $150 an hour.
They're essentially just begging for whatever work falls off the table.
Exactly. They are competing in a race to the bottom on hourly pricing.
And on the other side, the value-add operator.
The value-add operator doesn't sell hours. They sell certainty. They actively protect their partner's reputation. They have rigidly standardized workflows. They don't walk into a roofer's office and try to sell drone flights.
Because roofers don't care about drones.
Right. They sell risk reduction. They say, I will make sure you never get sued over a pre-existing dent on a roof.
We have a really great, very concrete example of this evolution in the Drone Launch Academy source material, the story of Gavin.
Gavin is such a fantastic case study in finding your lane. First of all, he is 20 years old.
What?
Yeah.
That is wild.
20 years old. And he started his business with a very, very unsexy job. He was mapping a Napa auto parts store parking lot.
Not exactly a sweeping cinematic masterpiece over a waterfall.
No, it's a flat gray parking lot. But here is the critical key to his whole story. He actually tried to do high-end real estate video early on.
And how did that go?
He completely failed. He freely admitted he wasn't naturally good at getting those smooth cinematic shots. The framing was off. The flying was jerky.
So what did he do? Did he just keep grinding at it?
No. Instead of trying to be a jack of all trades, master of none, he pivoted hard. He said, I'm bad at video, but I am really good at following a grid and making accurate maps.
He leaned into his strength.
He stuck strictly to mapping until he absolutely mastered the workflow. He niched down.
That is such a hard lesson for people to learn. Everyone buying a drone wants to do everything. They put on their website, I do weddings and thermal roof inspections and indie movies and real estate.
And that is exactly how you signal to the high-end market that you are a complete amateur.
Because professionals specialize.
Gavin focused his entire business model. But the thing that really stood out to me about Gavin's story in the playbook wasn't just the mapping. It was a tiny little detail about how his website is structured.
Oh, the reference numbers.
Yes. It is psychological genius.
I thought that was so smart.
It's brilliant friction removal. On his online portfolio, every single photo has a clear reference number stamped on it.
Like photo 123.
Exactly. Just a simple number.
It sounds so incredibly simple, but think about the massive communication gap it solves.
It bridges the gap between technical and non-technical people.
Right. Because a client, say a commercial real estate developer, they don't know technical photography terms. They don't know what parallax is.
They don't know the golden hour.
Right. They struggle to describe what is in their head. So they say frustrating things like, make it look more pop.
Or, can you make it look more cool?
Which means nothing. And it leads to endless revisions.
Revisions that eat your profit margin. But with Gavin's simple system, the client just looks at his site and says, hey, Gavin, I want the lighting style of photo 123 and I want the angle of photo 405.
Boom. The ambiguity is completely gone.
The scope of work is instantly mathematically defined.
It makes the client feel like you have a rigid, proven system.
Yeah.
And that is a huge hallmark of a value-add operator.
Yeah.
He solved a major communication problem for the client before they even hired him.
Exactly. Now, another operator we looked at in the materials was Rich Charpentier.
Right, his workflow guide.
His workflow source was really interesting because he talks extensively about the pre-flight work.
Because Rich is a pro. He doesn't just pull up in his car and start throwing props on a drone.
Never. He does highly methodical site visits.
He actually walks the entire physical property before he ever brings the camera gear out.
He walks it to look for safety obstacles, sure, power lines, trees. But he's also mentally building a very specific shot list as he walks.
Visualizing the final product.
Right. And he talks about flight planning not just as a safety compliance thing, but as a critical gear selection tool.
This is the toy box concept from the notes.
Exactly. He realizes that one single drone does not fit every single mission.
You can't just use the Mavic for everything.
You really can't. If he needs to fly indoors, or if he's doing a shoot tracking through super tight vines in a vineyard, he brings the Avata.
Which is a small, protected FPV drone.
Right. It has prop guards, it's nimble. But if he needs to do highly accurate 2D mapping of that same vineyard, the Avatar is useless. So he brings the Mavic 3 Enterprise.
He is bringing a toolbox, not just showing off a new toy.
And he creates that massive wow factor for his clients by combining footage from different tools.
He's not just giving the client one standard aerial angle.
He's telling a complete multi-layered story of the property by actively choosing the exact right tool for each specific shot.
That is the ultimate value add.
Mm-hmm.
He's thinking entirely about the client's final end product, the marketing story, not just his own flight path. Okay, so we've got the mindset down. We've got the data foundation with GIS. Now, I really want to dive into the specific industry verticals outlined in the sources.
Those different lanes.
Because the way you talk to a film director on a movie set is completely fundamentally different from how you talk to a civil engineer on a highway project.
Oh, they are completely different languages. If you walk onto an indie film set talking about orthomosaics and relative accuracy,
They will look at you like you just landed from Mars.
they will. And conversely, if you walk onto an active construction site talking about capturing a cinematic mood, the site foreman will kick you off the property.
So let's start with the filmmaker and agency lane. The source material here, specifically the Professional Aerial Cinematography Guide.
That guide was fairly brutal.
It really was. It stated point blank that most drone footage submitted by pilots is technically fine, but editorially unusable.
That hurts for a lot of pilots to hear, but it is the absolute truth. Video editors hate what they call roller coaster footage.
Roller coaster footage.
They hate it when the pilot is constantly nervously adjusting the gimbal tilt up and down, or yawing the drone left and right looking for the right framing while the camera is actively recording.
So what is the actual solution for that? What is this handles concept they emphasize?
Handles. This is the golden rule of all cinematography, not just drones. The rule is hold, move, hold.
Break that down for us.
Before you do your cool cinematic move, say it's a sweeping orbit or a slow reveal over a cliff, you press record and you hold the drone perfectly, dead steady for 5 full seconds.
Do nothing, just hover.
Just hover. That is your front handle.
Yeah.
Then you execute your move as smoothly as possible. And then at the very end of the move, before you hit stop, you hold it steady again for another 5 seconds.
That's the back handle.
Exactly.
Why is that so critical?
Because the video editor needs a clean place to cut.
Ah.
They need a static moment to dissolve into the shot, or to cut away from it to an actor's face. If you are moving erratically the exact millisecond you hit record and you cut the camera, the millisecond the move finishes.
Yeah. You've given them no padding.
You've completely handcuffed the editor. You gave them zero margin to work with on the timeline.
That makes so much sense. It is really just about having empathy for the person receiving your work down the line.
Exactly. You are serving the editor. And on a commercial film set, you have to remember that you are an entire department.
Yeah.
You're not just a guy with a remote control.
Right.
You talk directly to the first AD, the assistant director, about the shooting schedule and safety. You talk to the DP, the director of photography, about the lens choice and the visual look.
You stay in the chain of command.
You strictly stay in your lane. You absolutely do not take creative direction from the caterer or a random grip who thinks a low fast pass over the actors will look sick.
Right. Stay professional. And there was one more really specific tip for the agency lane that I thought was brilliant. The selects folder. Oh, this single tip will win you repeat contracts.
Let's hear it.
Do not dump 400 unedited video clips onto an agency server.
Just a massive hard drive of garbage. Right. They do not have the time to watch 4 hours of you turning the drone around. You watch them.
You curate it.
You curate. You sit down, you review your own footage, and you pick the top 10 absolute best shots that perfectly nailed the director's brief, and you put only those into a separate folder called selects.
That saves the editor hours of scrubbing through timelines.
Exactly. And when you save a busy editor time, they will literally beg the creative producer to hire you for the next campaign.
You are selling editor confidence. That is the actual product.
Editor confidence.
Okay, pivoting hard away from Hollywood. Let's talk about the engineers, the technical lane. The language here changes completely.
Completely. Here, we are no longer talking about mood. We are dealing with the defensibility triangle.
The defensibility triangle. That sounds very intense.
It is intense because engineering carries massive legal liability. Engineers care about three distinct things from your data: constraints, evidence, and claims.
Break those three pillars down for us.
Okay, constraints. This is what limited the quality of your data on that specific day. Was it unusually windy? Were there dense trees blocking the line of sight?
Did the RTK drop out for a minute?
Right. You have to actively admit these limitations up front in your report. You don't hide them. Next is evidence.
Show your work.
Exactly. Where are the raw flight logs? Where is the exact metadata for the photos? They don't just want the final pretty map. They want the math that built the map.
And the third one?
Claims. And this is the most dangerous part for a drone pilot. What exactly are you legally certifying about this map?
The source material had huge warnings about language traps here, specifically using words like exact.
You never, ever say exact in an engineering context. You never say the data is perfect. And you never, ever use the phrase survey grade.
Unless
you are a legally licensed professional land surveyor with the state credentials to actually back it up in court.
Yeah, because it's a massive legal trap.
It is. If you casually use the term survey grade to sell a job and you aren't licensed, and a building gets built 3 inches over a property line based on your map,
You are getting sued.
You are getting sued, and you can get heavily fined by the State Engineering Board for practicing surveying without a license.
So what language do you use instead?
You use highly specific qualified phrases like, this data has a relative accuracy of 2 centimeters, or this map meets the agreed acceptance criteria outlined in the contract. You talk openly about your error budget.
The error budget. I found that concept fascinating.
It's crucial. It is acknowledging that literally all data has some margin of error.
Nothing is perfect.
Right. The atmosphere distorts GPS signals. The camera sensor inherently has digital noise. The professional operator identifies exactly where that error is coming from.
Multipath interference from buildings reflecting the GPS signal.
Exactly. Or poor lighting conditions causing photogrammetry noise. You admit the imperfection to the engineer to build trust.
Because if you walk in and say, this map is 100% perfect,
the engineer instantly knows you are either lying to them or you are deeply incompetent. Humility creates authority in the engineering world.
that is such a powerful distinction. Humility creates authority.
It does.
All right, third vertical lane discussed in the sources. The roofers. The trade lane. This feels like a very different beast. High volume, high speed.
It is very fast-paced.
Yeah.
And roofers do not want to buy drone flights. They want to buy standardized packages.
Right.
The source material suggests creating highly specific products, things like a storm evidence pack or a repair closeout pack.
I absolutely love the baseline plus after trick that was mentioned in the roofer guide.
Oh, this is a genius workflow for dispute resolution.
Explain how it works.
So you fly the client's roof before the massive storm hits or before the roofing crew starts the repair.
You get the before picture.
But you don't just take a picture. You save the exact automated GPS waypoints of that specific flight path in your software. Then, after the repair work is totally finished, you go back to the house, load that exact same automated path, and the drone flies the identical route.
So you have a photo A from before and a photo B from after that are perfectly mathematically aligned.
Down to the centimeter. It creates a flawless match view comparison.
Here is the chimney flashing before we started. Here is the brand new chimney flashing today.
Exactly. And it kills any customer argument instantly.
Instantly. If the homeowner says, you guys didn't actually fix the flashing.
The roofer just pulls out the iPad and says, yes, we did. Look at photo A and here's photo B. It completely protects the roofer's margin and it reassures the homeowner.
And safety was brought up as a really big point in the roofer lane too. But not just for safety's sake, right? It was framed as a marketing tool.
Yes. The safety brief concept, look, when you are flying a drone in a dense residential neighborhood, you are highly visible. Everyone sees you.
All the neighbors are watching.
If you are out there being reckless, flying over moving cars, the roofer who hired you looks reckless by association.
It damages their brand.
But if you show up wearing a high visibility vest, setting up orange safety cones around your launch pad, and giving a quick safety brief to the roofing crew,
You look incredibly legitimate.
the roofer looks like a premium high-end service provider because their subcontractors are so dialed in. You act as a professionalism signal for their company.
You are essentially their live billboard in that neighborhood.
Exactly. You make them look expensive.
So we've covered the data foundation, the value-add mindset, and the very specific languages of these different industries. Film, engineering, trades.
A lot of ground.
But now we really have to talk about how to actually structure this as a sustainable business. Because you can be a phenomenal pilot, an absolute artist with the sticks,
And still go completely broke.
still go bankrupt if your underlying business architecture is messy.
Which is where 90% of operators fail. They focus entirely on the flying, and they ignore the business structure.
The biggest, most urgent takeaway from the partner menu source document was this: stop custom quoting every single job.
Please, stop doing it. Custom quoting is a total death spiral for a small service business.
Walk us through why it's so bad.
Think about the workflow. Every time a new lead comes in from a roofer, you have to sit down at your desk. You open Google Earth, you calculate the drive time, you guess how long the flight will take. You write up a custom PDF proposal.
Which takes an hour.
At least you send it off, and then the client ghosts you.
Because you took too long or the price was weird?
You just wasted an hour of unbillable time. And more importantly, it forces your partner to think too much.
That's the friction they talk about.
It's massive friction. If a roofing project manager has to call you, describe the house, wait 4 hours for a custom price quote, they will just grab a ladder and climb the roof themselves.
Because it's faster.
You have to remove that friction. You need a menu.
Like a literal restaurant menu.
Exactly like a restaurant.
Yeah?
You hand them a sheet that says, Roof Evidence Pack, $250, flat rate. Includes X, Y, and Z, delivered in 24 hours. Done. Now the partner can instantly resell your service. They don't even have to call you to check pricing.
They just bake it into their own estimate.
Right. They tell the homeowner, we charge $500 for the initial inspection, which includes a full drone topography pack.
They make a nice margin on your work.
They make money, you get a zero-friction job order, everyone wins.
It turns a customized, messy service into a standardized product.
And it strictly defines your scope of work. The menu explicitly says what is included, and more importantly, what is excluded.
So when the client asks for just one extra little marketing video while you're out there,
You don't have to awkwardly argue. You just point to the PDF menu and say, oh, that extra video is part of the platinum package, which is an extra $100. Shall I upgrade you?
that is brilliant. It completely depersonalizes the word no.
It makes it a business policy, not a personal rejection.
Now, along with setting up menus, we need to talk about the partnership models. The source material outlines 4 main structures: referral, white label, subcontract, and retainer.
Let's break those down.
Let's do it quickly. Start with referral.
Referral is the simplest, most traditional model. The partner, say a real estate agent, says to their client, hey, call this drone guy, he's really good.
And then you bill the client directly.
You bill them, you own the relationship, you control the contract.
Good for keeping control of your business.
Yes, but bad if you want the partner company to do all the heavy selling for you, you still have to close the deal.
Right. So what about white label?
White label is the exact opposite end of the spectrum. You do the flying, but the partner company sells the service to the client, and they bill the client.
You are essentially an invisible ghost.
You are a ghost. You wear a polo shirt with their company logo on it. You sometimes even use an email address from their domain to send the files.
What is the primary risk there? It sounds easy.
The massive risk is that you completely lose control of the client expectations. If the partner's overly enthusiastic salesperson promises the client the moon and the stars,
And your drone can only deliver a rock.
right, you are the one who looks incompetent on site, even though you didn't make the promise. That is exactly why you need strict SLAs and white label deals.
That's LA's. Service level agreements.
Service level agreements. You have to agree in writing beforehand. If your salesperson sells package A, here is the exact, unchangeable list of what I will deliver. Nothing more.
That protects everyone. Then there's the third model, the subcontract.
This is very common in the engineering and construction space. You are a highly visible, acknowledged vendor, but you work officially under a larger prime contractor.
So it's very formal.
Extremely formal. Lots of insurance paperwork, lots of strict safety compliance, net 30 payment terms.
And finally, the holy grail of service businesses, the retainer.
Capacity on tap.
Explain that.
A retainer is when the partner pays you a flat, guaranteed monthly fee just to ensure you will be available when they need you.
So it stabilizes your income.
It is fantastic for predictable cash flow, but you have to set incredibly rigid boundaries. Because if you don't define the scope of that retainer, the partner will just start treating you like a really cheap full-time employee who has to answer the phone at 2 a.m. on a Sunday.
Speaking of bad partners and cheap employees, let's talk about the red flags. The boundary blueprint source had some genuinely scary ones.
Oh, yeah. starting with the extractor.
The extractor. It sounds like a Marvel villain.
They basically are villains in the business world. This is the partner who demands maximum possible output for the absolute minimum cost.
How do you spot them?
They always dangle the promise of volume in front of you. They say things like, hey, I'll give you 100 roof inspections a month if you just drop your price to $50 a pop.
But the volume never actually materializes, does it?
It never comes, or if it does come, it's garbage work that bankrupts you on gas money alone. You are just subsidizing their profit margin.
And then there's the chaos machine.
The partner whose hair is constantly on fire, everything is always urgent, never planned.
Hey man, can you fly this site in an hour? I forgot to tell the client we needed drone shots.
Exactly. And if you say yes to that every single time, you actively train them to continue being chaotic.
Because there's no penalty for their bad planning.
Right. You have to fix this behavior with tiered service levels.
How does that work?
Standard pricing gets them a 48-hour turnaround. Priority gets 24 hours, but it costs 20% more. Emergency means same-day service. And emergency pricing costs double.
Oh, that hits the wallet. That teaches them to plan ahead very quickly.
It absolutely does. Money is a great teacher. But the biggest reddest flag of all in these partnerships is the phrase, pay when paid.
Pay when paid. So you should just run from that.
Run as fast as you can. Or price the massive risk into your quote. Pay when paid means the prime contractor does not pay your invoice until their end client pays them.
Which in commercial construction could be forever.
It could be 90 days. It could be 120 days. You are essentially giving a multi-million-dollar construction firm an interest-free loan.
You are becoming their bank.
Do not be their bank. You are a small operator. You need cash flow to buy batteries and pay insurance.
Very solid advice. Okay, moving into section 5. We have built the business architecture. We have the menu set up. How do we actually go get the work?
The hardest part.
We have a source dedicated to this called the Low Cringe Partner Outreach Method.
I really love that title, low cringe, because let's be honest, doing cold outreach usually feels terrible.
It does. It feels desperate. It feels like you're begging, please hire me, I have a drone.
Right. The fundamental problem with traditional cold outreach is that you are aggressively asking a total stranger to take a major financial and operational risk on you.
You're saying, trust me, I'm good at this.
And their brain immediately says, why should I trust you? I don't know you.
So what is the alternative? What is this partnership flywheel approach?
The flywheel approach means you stop cold calling individual end clients looking for one-off jobs. Instead, you look for a strategic partner who already has a massive built-in demand.
Right.
Roofers already have hundreds of roofs lined up. Ad agencies already have quarterly campaigns booked. You align with them, and you essentially borrow their established trust with the end client.
So what is the actual pitch then? When you reach out to that roofer, what do you say that isn't cringe?
You don't beg for a contract. You offer a trial pack.
A trial pack.
The script goes something exactly like this. You say, I can help your sales team close more deals, and I can reduce your safety headaches by adding a standardized drone layer that is safe and very easy for you to upsell.
Okay, focusing on their benefits.
Exactly. And then you say, let's run just one trial job together, flat price. We see if it works for your workflow. No long-term commitment.
It makes it incredibly low risk for the partner.
Tiny risk. And notice the framing. You are framing the service as solving their primary problems. Closing deals, keeping guys off steep roofs, not solving your personal problem of needing to pay rent.
That is the key psychological shift. And we have some really great specific insights from Tony Marino at Aerial Northwest about the marketing channels to support this outreach.
Tony is fantastic. His main point is that you cannot just rely on one single magic channel.
You can't just post on Instagram and wait.
No. First, SEO. Search engine optimization is absolutely critical. You are a local service business. You need to be found locally.
Right.
If a project manager flies into town and Googles drone mapping Arkansas or construction time-lapse Seattle, your website needs to be the first thing they see.
And what about social media? It's mentioned, but with a big caveat.
Right. Tony calls for visual domination on social media, but strictly focused on your actual target audience. Meaning, stop posting pretty highly edited sunset videos just to get likes from other drone pilots.
Other pilots aren't going to hire you.
Exactly. Post content that targets your buyer. If you desperately want commercial construction work, you should be posting detailed progress maps and 3D models on LinkedIn.
Because that's where the construction project managers actually hang out.
Yes. Show the data, not just the physical drone hovering in the air.
And education was another big channel. This loops right back to the whole expert authority idea we talked about with the engineers.
Doing webinars, writing detailed blog posts about how to utilize point clouds, establishing yourself as the absolute authority in your local market.
Because if you teach a company how to utilize drone data effectively,
They will inevitably just hire you to collect it for them because you proved you understand it better than they do.
and finally, collaborations, which is honestly what this entire partnership discussion has been pointing towards.
It's the ultimate force multiplier for a small business.
So, bringing this all home, we have covered a massive amount of ground today. From the literal physics of LiDAR laser returns, to the psychology of pricing menus, to structuring a retainer agreement without becoming a 247 employee.
It's a lot to process. But if we have to summarize the core thesis of this entire deep dive, it really boils down to this. Technical skill is merely the entry fee.
Flying the drone is literally the easiest part of the job now.
Yes. The real business, the thing that actually generates wealth and stability, is workflow architecture.
Workflow architecture. Standardizing your inputs.
Right. Your set menus, your clean intake forms, your pre-flight checklists, and standardizing your outputs.
Your clean deliverables, your neatly organized selects folders.
That is the only way a service business scales.
And building those long-term partnerships is entirely based on trust transfer.
You protect your partner's project timeline by adhering to strict service levels, and you protect their hard-earned reputation by maintaining flawless safety and compliance on the job site. That is the unwritten contract.
So, to all of you listening, here is your wingman challenge for this deep dive.
Don't just listen to this and nod. You have to actually do this.
Right. We want you to take immediate action.
Yeah.
Pick exactly one partner lane to target this week.
Maybe it's local roofers, maybe it's commercial real estate agents, maybe it's civil engineers. Pick one.
And then create one single menu document for that lane containing exactly 3 packages: basic, standard, premium.
Keep it simple.
And write down one specific service level agreement. What is your guaranteed standard turnaround time?
Define it in writing. Stop operating like a guy with a drone and start operating like a genuine solution provider.
Put it all on a clean PDF. Email it to 5 potential partners using the low cringe script. See what actually happens.
I guarantee you will get a response.
I love it. Now, before we wrap up, I want to leave you with one final kind of provocative thought, something we haven't touched on yet, but it's looming over everything we've discussed. We talked a lot today about software automation and AI processing and smart GIS systems doing the heavy lifting.
Oh yeah, the technology is moving terrifyingly fast.
It is. We are rapidly entering a world where the robots are getting remarkably smart, and honestly, the drones are basically learning to fly themselves out of the box.
Skydio, DJI, the obstacle avoidance is already incredible. The flight automation is absolutely taking over.
Exactly. So in that near future, the pilot who just relies on their physical ability to fly the drone, that person is going to become a totally obsolete commodity. The market price for simply pushing joysticks will eventually go to zero.
It has to. You can't compete with free software.
But the value-add operator who deeply manages the data integrity, the professional who manages the complex client relationship and interprets the business needs, the one who actually creates the human trust.
That is the operator who owns the entire future of this industry.
Because you can automate the flight path and you can automate the camera settings.
But you cannot automate the trust.
Powerful stuff.
That's a wrap on today's mission, Commander. See above, go beyond, get ahead. For more training, tools, and intel, head to skycommander.ca. If you learned something new, share it, subscribe, and leave us a 5-star debrief.